Welcome everyone. This is the start of our briefing in partnership with VJ Jacob at Foster FBA. Today we're covering Amazon's biggest talking point as of March 2024, the new inbound service placement fee. So, what is this fee? It's Amazon's latest fee in a growing list of fees in the States that unfortunately will be squeezing FBA brands' margins a little bit further. And for some, that's pretty dangerous because a lot of brands operate on quite a thin margin. And this could be fatal for some SKUs. So I've spent a significant amount of time preparing this briefing due to the large impact it could be about to have on many FBA sellers' profits. I want to cover what the threat is, what we can do about it, and why to some it may be an opportunity to grow profits instead of shrink them. My name's Alex Gardner. I'm an ACA from the UK who spent years working for PwC, and for the last 5 years I've launched and run a hybrid US and UK Amazon FBA business. I also run a venture that helps FBA business owners maximize their profits by combining my unique credentials and expertise on both the technical and operator side of Amazon. This puts me in a rare position to understand the operational and financial impact of this new fee. So, what is it? As you can see on the slide, it's already created complete chaos on the forums, despite no one being actually hit with the fee yet. This fee will come out of some sellers' accounts as early as mid-April if they had a shipment in early March. And I'm recording this in March right now, so no fees have come out yet, but it's completely taken over on Reddit, on Seller Central, wherever you look. Everyone's talking about it, and they're already been shown estimates for their shipping costs, and it's pretty crazy for some SKUs. It's based on a large number of factors, including dimensions, weight, and inbound region. But unfortunately, this is yet another algorithm-decided fee by a company that quite simply seems to not care about FBA sellers anymore. There's no chance of appeal, this is happening, and that's that. So, how badly could this affect you? Well, it's very difficult to judge due to all the factors at play and the fact that it's algorithm based, but it's looking like, based on the comments from other sellers so far and my own experience with clients, it could be between 10 to 100% of your SKU's current profit margin. For most, it's unlikely to wipe out the profits entirely. Amazon is reducing their outbound fulfillment fees by roughly 20 cents per order to counteract this. But a little bit of that is false because they raised the fees a few months earlier. So in actual facts, for example, with some of the SKUs I was looking at today, the real drop is more like 9 cents because it was already raised a few months ago. But they're saying it's a 20 cents drop. But it doesn't really come close to covering this new fee in almost every size category you look at, and I've done the full analysis across the board. No one's benefiting from this. The reality is the new fee is a serious issue with real consequences if approached the wrong way. But despite what the average seller is saying and what you read on the forums, I believe this fee is an opportunity and not a threat. In fact, for the well-planned and carefully structured FBA business, the new placement fee will counterintuitively result in greater profits. But for all the less prepared businesses, they will absorb this extra cost unconsciously or complaining all the way, but they'll still absorb the extra cost and they'll face the consequences of that. That's just how Amazon is nowadays. So as the Amazon selling environment continues to adapt and change at a high pace, not just with this fee, but as we know, it's always changing, being up to date and keeping full clarity on all operational and financial elements of the business has never been more important. Many are looking for loopholes and short-term tricks to avoid paying this fee. These are being closed out pretty quickly, and those using them will pay the new fee regardless. It's better to immediately adopt a legitimate method that you can set and forget anxiety-free. So far, we've tested and compiled 11 proven methods that either avoid or reduce the inbound placement fee completely. We're going to talk about 3 of them today. Before I begin, it's fair to mention one option available to all Amazon sellers, and that is to do absolutely nothing, just absorb the cost. Perhaps you want your Amazon business to be relatively hands-off, you don't have the time or the stomach for more change. Perhaps you believe you can just raise your prices, like I'm sure many will actually have to do to combat this. This is completely fair, and all the best to you with that strategy. In my opinion, it's not a good idea. And even if you are to raise your prices and you're okay with that and it doesn't have any impact on your sales, you may as well benefit from that with the improved profits that would come from structuring the business carefully to avoid paying the new placement fee, or at least avoid paying it in full. I would say doing nothing is a move probably born out of complacency or a lack of clarity. Both are dangerous to Amazon sellers nowadays and should be avoided at all costs. So let's begin. Method 1 is FBM, aka Fulfilled by Merchant. Most people already know what this is, at least on some theoretical level. FBM is an alternative to FBA where you ship the orders out yourself, either through your own warehouse or more likely a third-party warehouse. Most sellers already know this distinction. If you start moving your SKUs from FBA to FBM, you will completely avoid the new inbound placement service fee. However, you will now be in charge, or your third-party warehouse, whoever you get involved to do this for you, they'll be in charge of the storage, the packing, the shipping, and returns. So Amazon will no longer do that for you for your FBM products. And to give a little flavor of what this could mean, here's a very simple example, to be honest, but it shows the FBA, it shows your sales, your COGS, and then the 2 main Amazon fees being the referral fees and the FBA fees there. And you can see there's a placement fee added in for this product. Now, 54 cents, that might be more than some people are going to be charged per unit for the placement fee, but there's many examples where they're being charged a lot more than that, depending on their structure. So it's a fairly conservative. I think the lowest possible is in like sort of 20 cents or so. That's the lowest you're seeing. If you happen to ship to a specific inbound region that's pretty cheap and your product's pretty small, you might only be charged 20 cents. 54 cents for an $18 product, that might end up being typical. It really depends on what the algorithm ends up deciding, right? And you can see here we have an FBM. So the sales are the same, the COGS are the same, the referral fee is the same, you still pay the same referral fee for FBM. And the FBA fee, it's put as the same there, but as you're going to see, it really depends. But what the main thing you can see, in fact the only difference there, is there is no placement fee with FBM. So as you can see in this simple example, you can make 4% extra margin right there just by avoiding the placement fee completely. However, what else? It's the shipping fees, the FBA fees. For single unit orders, they're likely to be more than what Amazon charge for the same service. It really depends, which is why a personalized audit from someone who knows what they're doing is really important here. And the understanding that you need to have a good relationship with a good warehouse already, or already have a warehouse as an asset to leverage yourself quite cheaply. But there's going to be a packing fee associated with that. There's going to be storage fees that may be more or less than FBA. It depends on your products and your deal and your third-party warehouse. You also have to deal with returns on your own. That could be an issue. There could be membership fees as well. There could be other fees. And it also brings a little bit of a risk into your business that wasn't there before, because with FBM you do have to meet certain targets. Otherwise, you could be at risk of SKU suspension or even account suspension. You also won't have the Amazon FBA badge probably, unless you've got good enough stats to have the Amazon Prime badge there. So there's a lot at play with FBM. I would exercise caution just finding a random third-party warehouse and going with this. We've worked with quite a few in our time, and 9 out of 10 of them have a pretty substandard service, to be honest. There's lots of teething issues at the start, and they can be quite greedy with their prices, especially if you're not the biggest seller, you don't have a lot of pull, you're not used to negotiating this sort of thing. You could be charged quite a lot for a very substandard service. And the risk here with a substandard service is that it brings with it the SKU suspensions and even account suspension I talked about. So due to this, we've been very careful with this, and we've built a shortlist ourselves of trusted third-party warehouses, and our clients only use them and we only use them. We've vetted the costs and the service over time to ensure there's a smooth ride and high margins, or as high as possible. I appreciate not everyone has this, so really be careful with FBM. I'd say before considering it, build a solid forecast with all the costs involved, get in touch with the right people, or just get an expert to do that for you. That tends to be more simple and more direct. Hopefully some of you already have some clarity on FBM and exactly if it's worthwhile or not for your SKUs, but if you need any help with that, just drop me an email, I'll be happy to help. Method 2 is to restructure dimensions and weights in order to fully take advantage of Amazon's fee structure. Consider if it's possible to reduce packaging size and weight without compromising product integrity. That's the easiest win. And obviously that's good not just for reducing the Amazon placement fee, the new fee, but it's also good at reducing fulfillment fees in general. And that tends to be one of the largest costs for especially FBA brands. This could mean tens of thousands in savings just there by just doing that audit. You can also consolidate smaller items and offerings into larger packages. You could do a mixture of FBA and FBM. You could be doing FBA for single unit orders, FBM for larger unit orders. There's a lot of customization that can happen here, and the best sellers are doing this to make sure they maximize their own profit margins. It's something that we offer as well. We can do the service for you. The new inbound service placement fee is dependent on size. It can heavily reduce the fee if items are consolidated or packaging is reduced in size or weight. This is an example from previous experience actually, and this is one SKU. It was generating 150k in sales, COGS of 36k, so it had some good net sales there. And you can see the referral fee is just 18%, pretty normal. But the Amazon fulfillment fee there, the AMZFFM, you can see that's actually half of sales. It's very high relative to the sales price. And even with a pretty steady 10% tacos with the PPC, which as we all know isn't always possible nowadays, ads have definitely gone up in the last year. They actually made a loss. And you can see where it comes from. It comes from the fulfillment fee. It's just way too high for this SKU. And this has included in it the Amazon's placement fee, the new fee, that will increase your fees even more so. So it's really important to make sure your dimensions and your weights, you're on top of it with your offerings. Because this could be something that someone launched 6 months ago and it looks like a bit of a losing product. You'd have to basically have no ads for it to make any sort of profit, and even then the profit would be pretty low. And then you can see what we did is we worked with the client and we released new SKUs on the same detail page that took advantage fully of the dimensional and weight structures to make sure the offering was good enough that the price could be good for the customer and it's competitive on the market, but it also reduces those fees. And what we found is revenue sales actually went up a little bit. COGS remained static relative to revenue, so net sales was still good. Referral fees remain the static 18%. But you can see the fulfillment fees, despite revenue actually going up by 28 grand, it dropped. It dropped by quite a bit, like 30 to 40% there. PPC, it's just remained at the 10%. So you can see there, the difference is that there was more revenue generated, it was a better product offering, and it made 37 grand. So a 27% margin, 28% margin, that's normally happy days for a lot of Amazon sellers. Many operate as low as 10%. So to go from a -3% to a 28% there, this is something that's clearly very important to look at. This won't work with every SKU, it should be mentioned, and every brand, but this is definitely something really worthwhile to look at. And all the top sellers, they're doing this on a SKU by SKU basis. They don't give up on a SKU until they've really exercised all of these options and seen what works. Amazon nowadays is always about making the small little bets that aren't too costly, and when you find something that works, you scale that. That's the way to success nowadays. You can't guarantee a successful launch every time, but in this case, you can see they would have maybe given up on a high revenue generating product that could have a very healthy margin. It's common for our clients to not have audited this meaningfully before working with us, and this sort of thing isn't obvious to them at all until we come in and we sort of take away the shroud of those limiting beliefs on what's possible, and we start testing different things. And this can be something that can change in 1 or 2 cash flow cycles, and it could be missed just because of inaction or lack of clarity. Method 3, and this is a great one, Amazon warehousing and distribution. I'll call it AWD from now. This is a little bit of an idea of what it is in case you're not clued up on it. But AWD is an upstream storage network that enables sellers to store excess stock at a fraction of the usual cost charged at FBA fulfillment centers. It's still Amazon run, and partially the reason it exists is that Amazon was buying up a lot of space in the last few years, especially around COVID times. We all remember the difficulty with the lack of availability of space and the new IPI scores and people not being able to send inventory in. Well, they were buying up a lot of space at the time. Now demand has shrunk a little bit. They're looking to monetize this space. So it's heavily in Amazon's interest for sellers to use this platform, and that's why they're making it financially in your interest. Before we start, there are some SKUs that aren't eligible for this, specifically perishable items or things that are non-sortable, and you can see the definitions on the screen there. If you need any extra help with this, shoot me a message. I can do a check to see if your SKU is eligible. So we helped a client. We're doing this for a lot of people now and for our own business. We helped a client move to AWD for 1 year, and we forecasted what the results would be. Obviously it's not been a full year yet, especially with placement fees only just coming into place, so this is a forecast, but here's what we found. Now, as you can see, we kept revenue static for the forecast. COGS has changed, and you can see FBA storage has changed. There's a new cost for AWD, which is sending the shipments from AWD to FBA. And you can see the new placement fee has been included in there as well. So at AWD, 62.5 grand extra profit. How come? So as I said, we kept sales static, but COGS actually go down, and the reason for that is that through AWD you get really good freight rates using Amazon Global Logistics. So there's a bit of a structural process in there. You need to have the right structure. Maybe a lot of you are already using Amazon Global Logistics. They've got great freight rates straight to FBA, but it's even cheaper straight to AWD because they're trying to incentivize that. And as you can see, it can make quite a big difference. 23 grand in this case for this this seller. They were able to put 23 grand straight back into their pocket just before we even get to expenses. And you can see referral fees remain static, Amazon fulfillment fees remain static in this example, PPC remains static, but when we get to storage, you can see that the storage rate is much lower than FBA. And the reason for that is it's an upstream storage network, so of course they do a great deal, and it's static throughout the whole year. And as we know with FBA, the price for storage goes up dramatically in Q4. A lot of people get caught out with it, especially because they're looking to be optimistic and they're looking to get a lot of sales in Q4. So understandably, they're wanting to send a lot of stock to FBA. And many Amazon sellers, they do not produce the product themselves. They have suppliers in China or overseas. So they're doing bulk orders over, trying to take advantage of that quarter four, and they get stung. They get stung by this incredibly high storage fee, and most people just absorb it because they just don't think there's an easy option. Because if you get a third-party warehouse involved, then there's all sorts of extra costs involved. But Amazon have made this really fluid and really simple, really cost-effective, all on the Amazon platform. And as you can see there, storage nearly halved over the year. A lot of the benefit of that will have been in quarter four, but it still is beneficial the other quarters as well. And then as you can see with AWD to FBA fees, that's moving the AWD stock to FBA periodically. That's forecasted at around $5,000 a year for this customer. So it is an extra cost, but I mean, we saved 17.5 grand on storage, 23 grand on COGS. And last but not least, the new placement fee just does not exist if you use AWD. Amazon will not charge you a single cent, regardless of what product you have, if you use AWD. So that's huge. That's a 27 grand increase there to your profits just by doing that. So as you can see at the end, you save 62.5 grand. You increase your margin by 5%, and you can see for this specific client, it's almost 3 times their margin. Because if you're operating at a low margin, these differences really make a difference. You need to be structured in the right way. And then there's even extra strategic things you can think about. So the dramatically improved IPI scores, that will happen because you'll be able to consistently move stock over when you need it. So it's very hard to be overstocked because you're stocking it somewhere else. That doesn't impact the IPI scores. And when you're running out of stock, you have stock there ready. There's also other waived inventory fees, such as the long-term inventory surcharges. You won't be charged that because your stock is in AWD. So you're safe. You don't have to worry about a failed launch costing you loads of money. You have greater flexibility to meet demand fluctuations. And there's many more hidden benefits I'm not going to go into because I could make a whole extra briefing on this. So as you can see, failed launch costs will be much more minimal. Demand volatility problems, much more minimal. Quarter four overstock chaos risks and huge storage fees in quarter four, and to be honest, a little bit the rest of the year as well, can all be very carefully managed here. And top sellers are mastering clarity on their numbers and control of their second order consequences, and they're staying up to date with the ever-changing Amazon landscape. So 62.5 grand more in your bank each year, 5% more profit margin from one operational change that actually makes your life easier as well. What would you do with it? There is so much more to AWD than I've discussed here. What is becoming evident is that AWD and other new coming processes and strategies, with the right strategy in place on top of that, is an absolute gift for savvy FBA sellers. Sellers who are looking to recover 2015 style FBA margins in the much tougher 2024 Amazon world will definitely be looking to utilize this strategically. So be proactive, pick a strategy, and level it up. Nowadays, generating profit margins that fill your bank account with cash takes more than just picking a winning product and riding the wave. It takes a considered, constantly evolving, financially focused approach that many sellers do not have in their arsenal currently. Now, as I mentioned, these are just 3 of 11 ways that we have so far, and at this point, there's 3 paths you can take from here. Path 1 is you don't do anything with what you've learned, either because you don't value it or because life gets in the way. This happens. Path 2 is you choose to go the DIY route. This is very common. If that's your choice, I can cheer you on from the sidelines, and if you have a question, feel free to email me. Path 3 is that you can reach out and ask my team and I to make your business more profitable by using all 11 of our methods, as well as our proprietary profit maximization process. See it as a sort of holistic audit of your financials and full maximization of your profits. If you're interested in that, just email me at alexgardnerfba@gmail.com and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. We're not able to work with big volumes of clients due to the sort of very focused professional white glove service we provide for our clients. However, if you are interested and you want to work with us, I recommend contacting me now. We offer a free consultation, including a financial audit, to assess whether we can help you in a meaningful way or not. This offer is for all Foster FBA clients. If we can't help, we'll point you in the best direction possible. And if we can, we will explain how it works over the call. This brings us to the end of this briefing. Have a good day and profit to you.